Hello, epic gamers. Welcome to another fucking podcast. Today we got... it says Mr. Nature, but that is not true. This is Mrs. Nature. What? So you're called Miss Sunshine. Why are you not Miss Sunshine? I mean, Miss Nature, considering...
That's a very good question, actually, and a good point, And when I actually made my YouTube channel thanks to Mr. Nature, I met him, he told me about his channel, I was like, wait, hang on, that's genius. I want to make one too, like on the spot. And obviously he's Mr. Nature, so he's looking at me like, oh, you should be Mrs. Nature, it's just the natural thing. But recently I'd been kind of given this label of Mrs. Sunshine, so I've already felt like I know what the name's going to be before even going into it. Like somebody said, like, they just looked at me and were like, you're like Mrs. Sunshine. And it kind of stuck. And I felt like, I have this funny little like nickname. So when it came to it, I was like, I'm sorry, but it's going to have to be Mrs. Sunshine. Like, because it's just me.
I feel like it suits you, definitely. I've just pulled your channel.
Yeah.
Pulling your channel up and that for everyone to see. So it's basically, I found Miss Sunshine. It's what I said on the other video, on the interview with Mr. Nature, who I just done, which is Mrs. Sunshine's significant other. And so I found Mr. Nature through Miss Sunshine originally because I was just searching when it was season back in October of this year, 2022, on the internet about how to find Liberty Cap mushrooms, because they just grow like fucking everywhere. And they're not that difficult to find. So I was looking for direction, and that's when I found Miss Sunshine's videos. And then I went down like a rabbit hole of her channel, and it's a bit of a madness. And then I also found, because Mr. Nature's in all of her videos, so I found his channel, and his channel was blowing my mind, and Miss Sunshine's was blowing my mind, and now, after doing the spontaneous call with Mr. Nature, I'm doing another one with Miss Sunshine, so that's it. I was just pulling up the channels and that. But yeah, how are we today?
Feeling really good today, actually. We were both saying earlier, actually, we're both in a really good mood today. High vibes, feeling the love flowing. And I was like really excited. I really loved like your and my partner's interview yesterday. So I was really excited that you wanted to do one with me. And I've never done this before, actually. This is my first time.
Yeah.
So I'm like nervous and excited simultaneously, but super happy to be doing this because I love that you actually found him through finding my channel. And I'm just excited to be here right now, honestly. Let's see where this goes. I'm excited to share whatever it is that's supposed to come through.
100%, because, I mean, I was saying, like, I want to do it more than you, probably, but you was so excited to get on here as well, and because yesterday I was speaking to you after we ended the podcast, we ended up, me and Mr. Nature was talking for a good hour, and then Miss Sunshine comes on, and we was resonating, and I feel like all three of us are like, actually, I get happy just talking. I was like, this is I had such a good time last time. So, but yeah, we were talking where we left off, and what I originally said to you, is that when we was speaking off camera, we started talking more about the lifestyle of like what you've done. You said to me, if you're willing to go into your story, like you basically walked out of your hometown, England, and you pursued a life of freedom and eco-village nature, which is something I dig deep on a lot. And because I've been looking at other cultures and I've been thinking, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't people aware of, like, it's not particularly the only way to go about things is to live on this like grid, and the benefits to some of the situations you ended up in, living in health and freedom in some of the most mad, like, because your channel and Mr. Nature's channel has a kind of vibe of like Dakota of Earth, I say, a little bit, where it's like you're always traveling, you're always about, you're always like finding cool people, cool animals and shit, and just vibing, waking up in hammocks on mountains and that. And I'm like, I just want to hear about that, if you don't mind, first of all, because I feel like people want to hear, because you were saying some places are like so easy to survive because of like the nature of the fruit that just grows everywhere. Like, where are these places? Some of them literally look like heaven on earth.
So to start with, I was living in the UK, like you say. I wasn't born in the UK. I was born in Poland, but I grew up in the UK. I moved there at the age of 9. I was there till I was 20 schmeh. And then, like, as you do in the UK, raving, festivals, a lot of drug use, drug abuse, going wild, as you do. And I started to see, like, my friends and my life take a certain path that was kind of dark and, like, addiction and stuff. And I just looked at it and was like, I don't want that. And I was also being given the opportunity almost to like get a flat and like almost settle into the UK. And I was like, I didn't want it. Life was like, here, take a flat for free. And I was just like, nah, something's telling me no. And I had this feeling like I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew something was coming. And I really wanted to travel. I didn't really have much money, but I wanted to travel. And I met a guy who also had the same feeling of like, let's get the fuck out of here. And I took a look at him one day and was like, let's leave. Like, we just, the money we have, it's not a lot. And then we told our friends also, like, who wants to join? And one girl, a friend of ours, was like, I'm coming too. So suddenly we're 3 people, like, very little money. And, like, just imagine everything you have in your room, you pack it down into, like, a single suitcase. So, like, you give away things like clothes and shit, or you leave stuff at your mum or your dad's. It's not so important. And you just pack, like, bare essentials thinking, I'm never coming back. Fuck England, I'm never coming back. Like, actually, fuck all of this. I don't, like, let go of all the ties, like tie up all the loose ends. I even made a list of like, what do I need to fix before I can fully do this? Like, even going to the bank and to the phone people and telling them like, I'm going on holiday, like this is what's coming. And then just one day you book a flight, and the thing is, in England, it's so easy to leave England financially wise that it's cheaper to fly to Spain than to like get a train to London. Literally, the flight ticket costs like 20 quid each for like from EasyJet or something to go from London Stansted to Malaga, which is south of Spain. And if I wanted to go from where I was living into London, it would have cost me like 70 quid to get a train. So like travel within England is crazy expensive, but to just get the fuck out is fairly cheap. So we start with Europe because like that's, you know, within what we can handle financially and stuff. If you want to go Asia and stuff, you need more money up front to like pay that flight cost, and then you're thinking visas and shit. So fuck all that. Okay, Europe. We get there. You don't really know what to do. So before you go, you kind of research a bit. What communities are there? What kind of things am I interested in that I might find? Which kind of places have like-minded people? Like, where are the hippies hanging out? What like communities are there? Also like work away and different things where you volunteer yourself. You do a bit of this and people feed you, they house you. So you start getting ideas. So you don't necessarily have to have a plan of like, I'm going here and I'm doing this and I'm going to live there. It's more like, roughly, there's things going on here that I can like be interested in. So we go. And you don't know where you're going to live even. You don't know how you're going to survive. It's like crazy. So you have to have this like immense trust that everything's going to work out. And obviously at times that's like hard, but then you get there and it's like opportunities are just presenting themselves at every turn. You arrive and somebody's like, oh, I've just got like this teepee or something, I need to take care of it for 3 weeks, would you want to like move into this teepee with me and help me like house sit for this family? So first 3 weeks you're in a teepee and you're like 5 minutes ago, I was with my backpack feeling a bit like, fuck, where am I going to spend the night? And now I'm staying in a teepee. I've never fucking lived in a teepee before. Now I'm living in a fucking teepee. And it just kept happening like that. And this was like from the very early stages of my first travel with my ex and our friend who came with us, the 3 of us. And we just like went along like this. Like maybe you get kicked out of a place and then you're like, shit, now what do we do? And we're walking along again with your backpack, again, feeling like back to square one. Where am I going to live? And then I bump into this girl and she's on mushrooms for the first time. And she looks at me and she's like, oh, you're so beautiful, dreadlocks, and like talking to me. And I look at her and I'm like, oh, right now, like, we don't know where we're going to stay. Like, 'cause she says, oh, it's my first mushroom trip, this and that. What are you guys doing? Like, have you just arrived? Because we've got all the bags and we're like, oh, no, we've just been kicked out of that place. So right now, we're not sure where we're going to go. And she's like, oh, but I've just moved into this place. Maybe you want to come and move in with us. And it's like, again, like it took a moment of me being like, fuck, what's next? And then you just take the next step and take the next step and it's right there. But people don't believe that. People don't trust that. Like you could say this, I've said this to my friends thousands of times, and you've got the ones that just grab life by the balls and go and experience it for themselves and have basically the exact same experiences, but in their own way. And then I have the friends who talk about it, they want to do it, they like the idea, but they don't fully trust that it's as easy as it is. Because people think, like, I need to have money, I need to have this, and like thinking that you need to have a backup plan. But when you put that out there, it's like you're already preparing to fail. You're like, it's not going to work out, and I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need that. If you put all that aside and just go, I'm going for it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going for it. And I know it's going to work out. That's the way to like, that's the attitude you have to go into it with. And then, yeah, there's going to be nights where you're literally like sleeping on the beach and it's cold, but at the same time, you're in a hot country. So it's not that cold. Like, it's doable.
Yeah.
And there was a while I was literally like bin diving, like dumpster diving, but it wasn't like gnarly, like I have no food. It was like the most exciting,
Yeah.
crazy experience. So you can go into these supermarket bins and you find like a bag of apples where one is like manky, but all the rest are fine. But it's a bag, so they had to fling it.
Yeah.
And it's like a treasure hunt, you know. You're like, oh, what are we gonna get today? Like,
I definitely I heard.
and the thing is,
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
oh, sorry, no, what were you gonna say? I've just been
Well, I just had
rambling
a
now.
few random things. No, it's cool. I definitely. It's cool that you're telling me, like kind of taking me through the steps because I'm very interested in all this. So there was a few things. First of all, so like I relate to the situation, like in the UK in terms of like the way that people are just like on the street, like especially when you're younger. There's a lot of like, it's I don't know, like it depends where you are, I guess, but like I find when I hang with like conscious people who didn't grow up in, especially like in this like council estate environment, and that's why I'm talking about, because a lot of people like my friends, they just live in these grids and these like blocks of flats, and then that's why I was initially looking into some of these eco villages and intentional communities. That was so interesting to me. And what some of the videos were portraying anyway was just one of them like literally made me sob. I was literally watching a documentary. I was like, where is this fucking place from? I don't know if the way they portray it is just, but I'm going off. What else was I saying? So there was a few things. One thing I knew I was gonna say at the start. I was thinking, right, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it, but half of them I think are gone. But there must have been. You say like most of your friends are like queasy about it. Surely, like there must have been fear with
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah, before leaving, I think I was like umming and ahhing about leaving for like a month or something. Or like maybe we've already booked a flight, but I haven't even started packing my room. And I'm like almost pretending like this isn't happening. And then in the last moments, I'm like, hang on, I'm leaving the country in a few days and like do everything like a manic person.
Yeah.
And there was so many moments where like, or say your family are like, what the fuck are you saying? Like the idea initially was really extreme. Me and my ex, we were both like, we don't want to be here anymore. We're never coming back. Like why would we stay in England when we can just live like basically for free in a hot country? And like the idea of like weed is cheaper, food is cheaper, sun is accessible all the time. It was like ticking so many boxes. And then actually, I remember a moment like me and my ex are laying there and we're discussing like, should we do this, shouldn't we? And he was like the one trying to persuade me almost. And then he played this one song, like it was called "It's Come Away" by Intin or something, and he's singing like come away from the Babylon, like get away from
Yeah.
that shit. And that song just kind of like hit me like a ton of bricks. And I think just hearing those lyrics in that moment was like the exact perfect thing for me to be like, why am I even questioning this?
Yeah.
Like, why am I even like debating? Oh, I'm a little bit worried or nervous or afraid. Like, fuck all of those worries. Come away from the Babylon. Let's go.
That
Come
is the
away from
best thing I've
Babylon.
ever
Let's
heard.
go.
I'll definitely link that song in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot
Do
of
you know the
people.
song?
No. I definitely would like to hear it though.
Yeah.
So I'll go. I'll find it. But I've heard a lot of people and even more so like refer to it as Babylon, and I don't know. Like, do you mind like So oh yeah, the thing I was gonna say before I remember now was like, so you were saying that people like I've heard other people talk about the same thing where it's like you just get the food from the outside of the shops, and I actually work in retail, in like a grocery shop, and I hope to get away from Babylon, but that's besides the point. It's that I throw out loads of waste, and you have to throw it out, and a lot of it is literally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. People are like, oh, but it's literally a fucking every day out the back of like the vast majority of retail, like grocery shops. They just literally mandatory have to, just because the date is gone on the thing. I don't know how it works up there, but they just throw the like sacks of food that's fine out, just out. So I understand why a lot of it's almost foolish not to. Like, it's such a fucking
Yeah.
So yeah, what I was gonna say is so get away from Babylon, come away. So what was your, if you don't mind, go into the nature of like Babylon, like where did you come from? Was it like kind of, because England, I swear down, is just work. It's what my friend Key Parks was saying, right? It's literally just work everywhere. And a lot of people, I grew up in poverty. Was that the case for you? Or
I was born in Poland, so the first years
oh
were
yeah,
in
true, yeah.
Poland,
I
and I
forgot.
felt like I had a beautiful start. Like, I won't lie, I feel like I remember having a lot of love and like everything was nice, and then suddenly my life was uprooted and I was in England, and I did notice a shift in culture in everything. Like, England is a lot more work focused. Even like, it sounds so silly, but like the things you see in the shops, there's so much ready to go, on the go. Like, I'm on my way to work, I need this drink or this quick snack like on the way, because everything's about working and fast paced, and like even eating is just like you need to do it because you need to get to work and you need to like live. It's not like everyone eating together with the family and blah blah blah. It's more, let's get this shit done, quick, work.
Mm.
And I worked from a young age. Like, I had a paper round and I worked in a Chinese restaurant while I was still at school. So it was like two jobs and school. And I was like going really hardcore, like earning more money than I even knew what to do with when I was like 16 years old. And my mom was like, you need to open a bank account. Like, what are you doing? And then at some point, I discovered this like hippie thing and was really like, fuck money. And suddenly found myself in a situation where I was like claiming benefits of the government. But it wasn't like I was unable to work or whatever. It was just like, I was just lazy and was like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to go like on the dole. But while doing that, I felt like I was lying to myself. I felt like I knew I was more than that. But
Mm.
it was convenient because I was also like going to festivals. I started doing psychedelics and things like that. So I realized I didn't want to go to university. And I was in this like in between. I finished college. I don't actually want a job because I'm starting to see that that's all like a load of bullshit, like fully. But I don't want to be on the dole because that's also a kind of bullshit. That's like, I give up, like someone else take care of me, like,
Yeah.
and having to go there and be like, I'm incapable,
Yeah,
either
it's
oh, I
just
can't find a
yeah.
job or I have mental health, this and that. Like, yeah, for some people it's truly the experience, but for me, I wasn't being genuine in those times in my life.
Yeah.
And the more psychedelics you do, the more you're like faced with your reality. And I couldn't just pretend, like, keep doing this thing. Like, it was almost making me mentally unwell to pretend to be
Yeah, that's what you
incapable,
don't
you
want to
know?
have to, like, I've thought about it,
Yeah,
like, in
you
some
don't want that.
times.
Like,
I've come to just embrace the way I am. Is think that the best thing for spiritual. When you know, like, did you ever get into a phase through the transition that you felt like you was going crazy somewhat? A lot of people get that. So I feel like
yeah, like that first LSD where you,
yeah,
or mushrooms or whatever, where you really kind of almost, the first time you might go, oh my God. And like
yeah,
your friends look at you like, nah, you're just crazy, rah, rah, rah. And then after that, really humongous, like, yeah, I thought I tried psychedelics before, but then this one hit me
yeah.
like
I've had that
something
many
else. Like,
times.
you're like questioning, like, am I dead? Like, did I die? Can this be real? Like, no, acid hasn't been like this before. Like, you're just completely spinning out on it. And then you're like, right, I've gone crazy, this is never going to end, or this is what having a psychosis is. I'm going in a mental hospital now. Like, and after that really big trip for me, I like kind of had a while off of psychedelics, and was, because before that I was just like munching them all, going to parties, going to festivals, raves,
Yeah,
ooh, having loads of fun. But like it's a drug, like it's a party thing, you know, it's for a laugh. Oh, I see pretty colours in this one. I like that one. And then you have that like spiritual experience with it, and suddenly you're like taken aback. You're like, I need a while to like process and like integrate and just try to comprehend what I've just been through before I go back into the world. Like,
yeah. I know what you
so
mean.
yeah, I definitely had a while of being like, shit, I'm crazy. I broke my brain or something. Like,
Because the
I
reason,
took
like,
too much.
trust me, I've been there many times. But like, the reason I asked, I can't remember where it stemmed from exactly, but it was just like, we were on about, like, I find the best way into, yes, because you was on about how you had to pretend back in Babylon that your lifestyle was, you was basically on benefits from the government saying you got mental health and that. So that's when I said, I've somewhat had a look at that path. A lot of people are like, fuck 'em. A lot of people are actually considerably living in decent, like, comfort. It's not for me, and that's what you were saying. It's not, like, it's comfortable, but there's no
Yeah.
expansion, there's not much growth. You're on, like, minimum money, so you
It's
can't.
soulless. It's
Yeah.
soulless. That's how it felt like.
Um,
I'm playing into the hands of the devil in one way or another if I do this. I don't
and
know.
it's just dead. No one wants to put up with that shit. So that's when I was asking you, like, because I was saying, like, oh, I've sought that path potentially, because sometimes I have felt like, am I awake or am I crazy? And what I was gonna say is, I find like the best way to get over that period of thinking you might be crazy is you like you you barely have a choice to go back to what was normal. I find if you sit on the fence, yeah, normal. If you sit on the fence and like contemplate, oh, I don't know if I'm crazy. Should I get medication, or maybe the West is right, or maybe I'm actually awake. Not saying that you've done that, but I was just saying it's like if you just fall in. When I accepted it and was like, all right, I'm crazy, sure, but I'm not going to the fucking doctors or nothing because of how they want me to, giving me labels and shit like psychosis or um I'm not gonna go there, but I went off. So if you want to say anything
No,
about,
you're
if you want to,
you're right on track there. That's totally right on track because people do make that mistake. People, there are obviously cases where someone takes psychedelics and has this kind of experience, and maybe they don't have a friend to talk to, or they just really panic and don't know what to do, and they maybe trust enough in the help of someone who's a professional or whatever, and they
yeah,
go and say to a doctor, like, I've had these experiences, I've chatted to aliens. And like, if they said it to us, we'd be like, "Welcome to the club." But like saying it to a doctor, they're like, "You either need medication, or that's called a psychosis, or you need to go in the mental health hospital. Like, how can we help you? This isn't normal." But what the fuck is normal? Like, the new normal is not something like anyone wants to be a part of. That's what we're discovering. People thought that having lots of money or having the best car or having these nice clothes or doing this, doing that was going to be fulfilling. But what people usually discover, like even the most rich people who have really made it and got everything they wanted, sometimes they kill themselves because actually they're fucking depressed, or they realize that all that money and all that fame and all that didn't actually make them happy. It wasn't fulfilling at all. And like famous people like Mike Tyson or whoever are turning to psychedelics to like look for deeper meaning in life instead of just like the program of like go to work, get rich, get successful, get more and more successful, have loads of money, have a big house, have a big car, and be like, yoo-hoo, I made it. I
Yeah.
played the game real good, like.
Yeah, it's like, well done. You just played into like the same capitalism stuff. I mean, like, I get it. It's better than like taking control is better than like not, I guess, to an extent. But it's just like I know what you mean. It's like the actual, basically, you're sold like a vision that no one questions, and it's basically this is what you're meant to do. Here you are as like some divine being. We put the children through the corridor of the education system, as Alan Watts says it, and then we straighten them out into categories. And then we can, yeah, put them in a box, put them in a flat, no garden, fuck it. Go get, even if you get a well-paying job, you're still a slave to that location at that time. Andrew Tate has a short, he goes, "It's 9 a.m, dumbass, you better clock the fuck in. Someone's gotta flip the burgers." And it's like, when you're in that, you said you worked quite thoroughly. Like, and I've had a lot of,
Yeah.
yeah, so, well, like, I've had a lot of history with, like, just them wage slave sort of jobs, so I understand and I resonate with the Babylon. This is why I feel like that original, what we was on, a while back, I've been keeping notes, is like, how Babylon was for you growing up in the, like, sort of these environments. But, if you want to, because we were just on, we started talking about, like, the pills and the medication and that, like,
Yeah.
and then obviously we're on about the nature of our civilization. One, do you not think that a lot of mental health labels and stuff is, one, just fabricated by the ideology of our culture, but like our culture creates the disorders because, like, Traumatic has a lyric, is like, mental health and depression, their side effects of living in an evil society. It's like, I found that a lot of my, because I had a lot of history with depression, it was actually the roots of it I found. I thought it was me, everyone's told me, but it's actually the culture and the food and the way that people are and the way we live and the, so it's like, I guess the ultimate question is like, do you see how the pharmaceutical industry is kind of full of shit? And then did you have any people who were like victims to the trap of like antidepressants when psychedelics are illegal? You know, that whole tangent. Would you care to go into that a bit?
I actually, when I was younger, I remember like learning about mental health things, and it was like new to me. I was like, I studied psychology in college, and you go to one of your first lessons in psychology, and they're like, there's a list like depression, schizophrenia, la 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 la, and there's some descriptions, and you've got to match them up. And almost every single person in that classroom is sitting there and starting to spin off on how they can identify with that one
And
and that
it's
one.
weird,
So
isn't it?
suddenly you're like, I'm schizophrenic, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm that, and you start fucking shitting your pants. And then the teacher actually says, like, it's like she's in your head. She's like, just want everyone to know it's very normal for everyone to experience moments of depression or moments of this one. Like, it's totally normal if you can identify with a few of these. Don't start giving yourself labels of mental health illnesses. And for me, that was like such a big thing because I was just like, what is all this stuff? And like, even growing up in Poland, and I've had this conversation with my mum and my auntie, and like, my mum and my auntie live in England, but they grew up in Poland like longer than I did. And in Poland, at least back then, if I go to school in Poland and I'm really good at school, then the teachers and the parents and everyone's like, oh, yeah, that's a bright student, she's good. But if the next kid goes and they're not very bright and they're not very good at school, people don't like try and analyze what's wrong with that kid. They just kind of like, there's this unspoken knowledge of like that kid's just going to do better in another area of life. Like they're not suitable for this school environment. They're going to become a something else. Do you know what I
Wait,
mean?
sorry,
Whereas
I
in the
don't mean.
UK, as soon
Yeah.
as like if you're not good at school, if you're not paying attention, they want to like look into that. They want to put a label on it. They want to understand what is that? Like what's wrong with you? Why aren't you fitting into this box? Like if you don't fit into this box, there must be something wrong with you. So you've dyslexic, or you've got fucking, I don't know, autism, or you've got ADHD, or you've got this, or you've got that. And I have friends who have like recently, like as adults, like 20 something years old, gone, holy shit, I didn't realize I've had ADHD my whole life. And having been given this diagnosis, I'm so happy to now finally understand myself and be getting the
Yeah,
right help.
finally.
But I feel like it's just another trap. Like if I wake up every day and I tell myself I'm depressed, like if first thing in the morning my thought comes in like I hate myself, life sucks, and I believe that, that's the experience I'm gonna have. And that's what people are falling for basically. Giving if someone gives you a label, that's why like yourself, I've never gone to the doctor apart from obviously when I was making it up for the sake of the benefits. I've never
Mm.
gone to a doctor and said like, oh, I think I have something wrong with me, I need a test for ADHD or that or this, because chances are I'm going to get a bunch of diagnoses. Your average person is on a scale for all of them, whether it's bipolar or autism or that. We're all somewhere on that spectrum. We've all got some depressive moments and some psychotic moments and all that. But if you decide to identify with it and like wear it like a hat, if some doctor tells you you're depressed and then you're like, okay, I'm depressed, and then you go around like, I'm depressed, you're never going to not be depressed as long as you keep believing you're depressed, telling yourself you're depressed, like sticking a sticker in your chest.
There's a
This
lyric.
is me.
There's a rapper called NF who talks a lot about depression, and there's one of his lyrics. Like it goes, just think about it for a second. If you look at your face every day when you get up and think you'll never be great, you'll never be great. Not because you're not, but the hate will always find a way to cut you up and murder your faith. He's like, if you tell yourself that you're depressed, and if you I remember actually, I forgot I used to say this. It's like, if you become so identified with the depression, it actually becomes like your thing. When I was younger, especially, I would like, it's like, it kind of feels like, and I know people now that actually, they don't actually want to get better, like because they've like actually they said I've accepted it's a part of me now, like friends that had struggles and I was trying to help, they're like, oh, I don't really want it to change anymore, it's just a part of me. It's like because you identify with it so strongly. But
It's like almost an addiction to the suffering.
I've
It's like
definitely,
I'm
yeah,
attached to it. I feel like it's a part of me. I can't let go of it. Who would I be without this identification? That sounds scary, and like I'm letting myself go into the abyss of unknown.
that's what a lot of spirituality and psychedelics teach on, is like prepare to just have your everything you thought you was the case. It's like, yeah, I know who I am, I know, like I'm just me, you know. Everything's just matter, like dirt. And then like even like it's not that, it's why so many people are so queasy about it, they stay away from these things, which we'll definitely have to get into psychedelics more in a bit, because that's definitely a good topic. But it's like people
You lost your
go
train
on.
of thought.
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, sorry, I always do that, especially when I've had a joint. What I was gonna say is that people, fuck, I know what it is. I know what it is. My brain is just doing this fucking annoying thing where it just jams. Like it's so stupid.
And it's on the tip of your tongue, like it's right. It's
No,
right.
it's like you it's like it no I anticipated I was gonna do it again, so it just happened because it's like a placebo thing. I've been addicted to it my whole life. I just I knew, alright, psychedelics making people create oh yeah, so I do so you're attached to concepts, you think you know who you are and all of that shit. When you take like a big fuck off dose, you will get put on your ass. All concepts will just melt away into some alien. And when you look at the brain scans, it's no wonder it's like feels an impossible experience. It's because your brain has never been in that state. People are like, oh, the brain's only on 20% go power all the time, or like, but so I swear psychedelics literally do that 100% myth that you hear, like, oh, the brain's only on 20%. It's like, have you seen the brain scans on mushrooms? But I don't mean to go. I hate like losing the train. I mean, you can go into that if you please. But what? Yeah, and then we was on about the pills and that, but with the medical.
I don't think anyone should take any kind of medication,
Yeah.
especially not when it comes to like anxiety or depression or SSRIs or whatever. Like the true medicine is in nature. That's what Traumatic's always on about. That's what my partner, Mr. Nature, I'm just going to call him Mr. Nature because then it gets people to his channel, hopefully. Like Rob, Mr. Nature, when he had his huge LSD awakening trip, one of the biggest things for him that he was being shown by his higher self, let's say, was like his drugs and his nature. Drugs are the ones that are man-made, that are being pushed, like pharmaceuticals like we were talking about. They are not good for you. That's basically poison. His nature, like no one fucked with it. It's like you, it's like the trees, the air, like it's right there. And as soon as we're living in a society where like they made nature illegal, that's like Satanism. Like if we were to say that God is nature, like if we were just to make that comparison, like if you were to not know anything about God or this concept, like you're an alien, you just came here, you look around, what do you see? Nature everywhere.
Yeah.
How could you say like that mushroom over there, that one's good, that's food, you can cook that and eat that, that one's nice. Don't touch that one though. That is literally gonna put you in prison if somebody finds out you touched that one. Like,
guilty as charged because
what
they
the fuck
cause
is that about? Like,
the mushrooms, they're Terran.
and that's the true medicine. That's the true medicine. Like the medicine is not in a pill. And the thing with the pills is that half the pills are based on a plant. Like take morphines and like any kind of opiates. Even in the name opiates, it comes from opium. Opium's a poppy. You have so many drugs that are actually just based off of a plant.
Yeah.
And they extract like the good stuff from the plant. Then they add some other things and they pop it out as pills. And so many people are under the illusion that taking like a paracetamol, taking a this, taking a that, it's become so normal to just for everyone to like take some kind of pill. And that's so fucked up. We should be connecting again to the nature and recognizing which kind of plant can be made into a tea when you've got a headache and this, that and the other, because it's all there, but we kind of lost all that knowledge.
Yeah.
Which was all part of it. It's part of the fun to like forget all about it and then remember it all again, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's how it goes. Just the infinite entertainment simulator. The young people who are going through their shit. So yeah, it's I know what you mean how it's so normalized. Like I grew up in a household and I ended up putting a video out and I felt like messaging like people who grew up in the houses. Like I love my parents, right, and they try. But there's such a heavy disconnection of what you put into your body, health, mental health, just a like holistic way that you approach your life and your job and that. And whenever you get ill, it's very quick to receive a scary fucking tablet name. And it's crazy how normalized it is. I definitely agree. And then as I was growing up, they kept offering it to me. Like I grew up on pot noodles and like fizzy drinks. And then whenever I felt like not good, I get this pill. And then when you actually look into what it does, so I love my parents, but it's just like, everyone knows this stuff is not that good, but no one actually like investigates the full ramifications of that. And then yeah, so I had a short on my channel that was just like, I don't know who made this Babylon shit, but I don't fuck with whoever they are, because the fact that you touched on how psychedelics are illegal and how they made nature illegal. Terence McKenna has something called the Vegetable Drug Act that he wants to bring about, or he did, and he said that there should be a law that simply states no plant is illegal. It's just like
that's a good one. That definitely should be a thing.
Yeah. But
And
yeah, it's
I've
so
been
backwards.
thinking recently, this is super random. So I
Yeah,
was
go.
thinking recently, right, about police. And like, the majority of us don't fucking like police for obvious reasons. They just come like, your biggest worry, smoking weed, for example, in some countries, is
Yeah.
getting caught. Like, that's the biggest paranoia. But then I've been thinking, like, if nature was legal, and then being a police officer, everyone would love the police because they wouldn't be fucking anyone over that isn't supposed to be getting fucked over. They would literally just do their job. They would like
Yeah, I
deal with
know.
the criminals that are like murdering or raping or whatever, like people you actually need like sorting out and getting them help. And not like me because I want this one. Like that's my choice. What I do with my body. Like fuck off.
hmm
Sorry, it's super random. But we were talking about nature and
No,
legal.
no, I definitely agree. It's basically like the reason why like the vast majority of the population basically everywhere hates the police is because like if they just done a better job, it wouldn't be the case. And people are like, oh, how are you going to bring that about exactly? It's like, well, why are the laws so set in stone where no one can do anything about them for like 50 years? Like, everyone knows this shit's outdated. You can't research psychedelics because they're illegal. So they just shut off this whole thing of reality. And then, like, we know the wisdom of the mental health benefits and how they're just mushrooms and there's no toxicity and they've been used since the beginning of time for fucking spiritual ceremonies and just personal development and okay, the list goes on. And then it's like fuck, I don't want to forget what I'm saying again.
I thought of something though when you were saying that.
Yeah, sorry, I just lose my train.
Thailand, fucking Thailand. Though we have a friend that's living in Thailand at the moment. Fucking legend. Thailand went from like nearly death penalty levels to basically legalizing weed. This is like recent, like earlier this year or something. They fucking just went and switched up their laws like 180, 360, whatever the fucking saying goes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To go from like you're gonna get killed for doing this is so illegal to like actually wait, hang on, we changed our mind, do what you want. And then grow it, smoke it, have it on you, do you like
Though when
sorry.
yeah, go on. What?
That's the thing about Portugal. That's the reason why Portugal within Europe, obviously that's brilliant. Portugal is such a sick place to travel to and one that really attracts our type because Portugal decriminalized all drugs.
Yeah. That's nice.
Decriminalized all drugs. But the thing with that is not only like that's fucking cool, like let's go to Portugal and walk around on acid in the street and like that's fine. The thing about that is that since they decriminalized all drugs, the drug related problems have decreased. Like the amount of crimes they've had and shit like that. Instead of seeing the person as a criminal, they're seeing them as like someone who needs help. Like if you're severely drug addicted to heroin or whatever, they're not going to see you as like you need to go to prison. They're going to see you as like you need help. Let's put you in rehab. Let's get you some kind of therapy. And then other European countries, when they see statistics and stuff of however many years this has been going on, they start to talk about it. Like even places like here in Sweden and Scandinavian countries where they're super strict when it comes to drug laws, someone within government goes and looks at the statistics and says, those numbers don't lie. This country made this change in this law and look at how much it's benefited the whole place overall.
Yeah.
And the people and la la la. And it's like, yes, thank you. Like, thank you, one country, for doing that so that other countries can like hopefully get that ripple effect and do something of the same thing eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. It's like if they didn't like it would benefit them like in so many and you could see it, and I'm very familiar with these grounds of how decriminalizing is the way forward, but it's like they also wouldn't like pay because so much money goes into prisoning these people who, again, there was a study done about like rats, who never got addicted if they weren't in like a Babylon environment. If they were in nature, they didn't drink the cocaine water or the heroin water. But when they were like in a fucking flat with no garden, just like me, they always took it.
I ate cocaine water. What else is there to do?
Yeah. So then, like, and then the police get, like, I often say, it's like they're literally walking around here just taking grinders off of teenagers, aren't they? Just on the street, like, oh, confiscate your grinder. It's like, oh, well, good job, dickhead. Go away. And that's why people don't like them, because it's just weird. And then, yeah, I super agree. I mean, there's the psychedelic revolution or resurgence is ultimately what we're on about. It's like the tide is turning on the way people are viewing these. This is why I'm so passionate, and I imagine you are, like, when you discover somewhat, don't you feel like it's somewhat like your message and your because these things are so important that me and you are at the forefront of this, and we've been saying this shit for ages, and a lot of people think we're crazy and we're not onto anything, but that's, like you said yesterday off camera, it's always, there's, throughout history, as history repeats itself, there's people deemed crazy by the groupthink of society, and they always end up just being ahead of their game, like a lot of them.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, I remember, yeah, like Einstein or whatever. Imagine him as a kid, everyone's pointing fingers at him, like, that's a fucking weird one, like, what the fuck's wrong with that one? Like, think he's crazy, until one day they're like, he's a genius.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, like, that's the thing also, like, being brave enough to step outside of the box, both, like, literally and, like, metaphorically in your case. Like, it is a thing about bravery, but more than bravery, it's a thing about trust and faith. And it's the same with psychedelics as it is with traveling, I would say. Like, you gotta have some big cojones, like you gotta grab life by the balls and be like, I'm willing to do this, like, I'm willing to throw myself into the unknown. And, like, you've done it with psychedelics, you've gone for it, you know, you've had those fuck off doses where you've just been like, I'm willing to surrender. And that's the kind of thing when it comes to traveling, like, and for a while, like, most of us dream about it, you know, I want to travel. That was me once upon a time, like, oh yeah, what do I want to do with my life? I want to travel the world, I want to see this and that place, I want to climb a mountain or whatever. And then the more that you think about it and start visualizing it and dreaming it, then, like, you that's already happened on some level. It's already in your reality, and you're, like, aligning to it. And when the opportunity presents itself, like, it's go time. Life's offering you, like, it's giving you a hand, like, come with, let's go. Are you going to take that chance? Are you going to make that leap of faith? And those opportunities are coming up for people all the time, but oftentimes we're too afraid, or we're telling ourselves, like, excusing ourselves reasons why this isn't quite the right moment, or we'll do it in a week or in a month, or we'll just save just a little bit more, or it isn't quite the right time because COVID, because blah. That was something that I absolutely loved about traveling during COVID, and then putting videos on YouTube, and, like, you're being told it's like this, but here I am literally at the airport, this is the date, and here's the fucking situation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, literally, that's what Andrew Tate was like. He says, like, when they locked down, I just got on the jet, and he just, like, and he was just, nothing changed for him, like, at all. It's just like, I just left when they locked it down. All right. So the freedom of traveling, it's like, again, the way that Andrew Tate, I don't, like, advocate Andrew Tate fully, but I've watched a lot of his stuff, and he says, like, you don't want to be tied down to a particular location. Like, I don't know if I want to own a property, because it's just yours then, and then you're tied to it, and then you can get in shit for it with the government, and as soon as you piss the government off, it's not yours anymore. So you think you're free, you think it's yours, but it's not. But yeah, what you were just saying about the leap, that was very good, actually. About, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It was like, there's so many opportunities, and I see this with so many people, like, they have limiting beliefs, like, I can never be a rapper, you know, I probably, but they don't even know, they haven't tried, and limiting beliefs is just such a mad filter. People don't understand how heavy it weighs on, like, you just, and then, yeah, it's like, I could see so many of my friends doing so much more, but a lot of them are scared to be their authentic self. So me and you just talking openly, as you're like, you might not want to do it all the time, but you have faith in what you're doing here, and that's exactly the shoes I'm in. So it's like people just they miss opportunities because of fear, and I could see people being so much more than they are, but they're scared. And again, another thing of our society potentially causing the depression. I heard Conor Murphy say once, like, expression is the opposite of depression, and because there's you know how there's like some stigma or like unspoken word, you know how people just don't express their feelings and don't really express their authentic, like, if I express my authentic self, I have the concerns of losing my job, of my channel, of everything. So symptoms, that's what I was saying. I felt like my depression and that a lot is like, I find it struggle to blame myself because of this culture. Is the way I grew up was very toxic, and these aren't really mine. But yeah, I don't mean to go off. What the fuck? What was he on about?
No, it's not. It's not the ideal environment, obviously. Like that's not how it's supposed to be. And if you ever do any psychedelics inside of a room or something, sometimes you can get this feeling, like this dystopian, like, why am I in a box?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't feel right. Why are any of us living in boxes? Like, what the fuck? I'm not like a package being sent somewhere. Like, I should be out in nature. Like you were saying, like that dreaminess of waking up in a hammock in those mountains. Like,
yeah, trust me.
That felt like fucking living the dream. And something I noticed when you were saying, like, I can see so many portals opening up of where these conversations could go.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You mentioned something, I think of something to say, then you say something else, I forgot that one. But
yeah, then I forget all of them.
And it keeps flowing.
That's why I've been trying to
like,
keep notes the whole time.
For hours, like, we just go on for hours. We could do this again. Like, we could make this a weekly thing because I just feel like it's infinite. That's the thing.
Yeah, I would.
It's infinity, like.
The thing is, I'm definitely like willing, because like obviously this is the first time. I've never done like extensive. Not that like I was assuming that you was like necessarily up for, but I would definitely like like if there's good conversations. I think it's awesome, and it's good. People love listening, and I felt like this one's definitely being a good one so far.
Yeah.
But.
Do you notice in the beginning you feel a bit like nervous and a bit like, and then like you like forget that at some point and it just feels effortless. And you just start like flowing.
100%. That's normally how it goes. Like, yeah, and then normally like it gets like better when you get past, like, especially with me and you being noobs at it, and I was like in previous ones, I'm get better with it, and it's neurotic and confusing, but sometimes I lock up and it's almost like but I don't want to be I don't care to be anxious, it just happens to my body, and I'm like and then it's like, I don't know, it's weird, but yeah, it's like the interviews, they seem, when you cross like 15 minutes with two new people who've never spoke, that kind of awkwardness, tension just subsides naturally, and the interview normally gets going, or the podcast gets going, like further down the line. That's where the quality is.
Absolutely. And I even feel that like when you make a video, I remember like making my first ever video, you're like, I always thought I was a confident person. I've always thought of myself as like outgoing, like, you call it an extrovert or whatever, like I was happy to make friends and talk to anybody and blah blah blah. And then I'm like, yeah, I could film myself and talk to the camera, easy, you know, whatever, you think it. Then you put the camera there and you go to speak to it, and suddenly I'm feeling like shy and like giggly and I don't know what to say, and I'm like, can we make it stop now? Like, can this be the end? Like, blah. And there's still moments to this day, like I started my channel like 2020, I think, and we're at the end of 2022, and there's still moments where I put up the camera and I have this initial like, hi, it's me. How do I normally speak words out of my face?
That's why like, I know this is just like sort of irrelevant to what we actually, but like I feel like people resonate with that. So my channel wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for a trip, because I tried to make like an intro video for like hours and hours, and if you looked from my camera roll, you'd shit yourself. It, like, the way that basically it's like, I it was like I'd get the camera out, and like you say, sometimes I'd look, but I had like a block that was removed, this like limiting belief by the psychedelic, and when I picked up the camera on the psychedelic, it was just bang, 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 and that's how I actually got the ball rolling. My first few videos were trip reports, because that's the only thing I could do. But when I was sober, I'd get the camera and fucking be like, I'd try and like talk normally, and maybe I'd get one like good 2 minutes, and then I'd like stutter and go, oh fuck. And then I'd try and like do it again, but then I'll be trying to remember what I said, and then it's just like I cannot do it. It's weird.
The first one, if it doesn't go exactly 100% correct, then you're like, fuck that one. You literally feel like, no, that I fucked it. Then you want to like get rid of that and try again. But then you're like, but I started it good in the beginning. So you're trying to remember like how you did it the first time to do it the second time. I've done that before with the video, and it's like the third or fourth attempt. And I say in the video, I ended up releasing this one, and I say in the video, like, I've already tried to make this video however many times.
Yeah, oh my god,
I'm
that's
gonna
literally...
get it this time. Like,
I've done that so many times, and then like sometimes I'm literally there for like over an hour. I don't know how bad it is, and then at the end I'm like, I'm literally gonna have to give up because this is just pissing me off. Like I'm just redoing the intro because like my mind's like, that was shit. You look weird.
I'm not in the vibe anymore. I'm not feeling it anymore. Like it's over now. Fuck's sake. But oh shit. Then I was gonna say something else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were talking about bringing it back to psychedelics naturally. You spoke about like the psychedelics like kind of removed that so you could just make a video. When I started to travel, like this is going back like me first traveling, and these things I was saying like magic happening, like I don't know where I'm gonna live, and then suddenly I know where I'm gonna live, and it's super cool, and then the next place ends up being more cool, and it just like these kind of magical occurrences of like it felt like I was speaking reality into existence. I was like, imagine if we could just do this and then that opportunity presents itself. Like, imagine if we found a community where we could volunteer and then we hitchhike and like literally the next thing that happens, hitchhike, get in this car, chat to the person in the car, and they tell us about that community that we were just discussing trying to find and how to get to it. And you're like, what the fuck? And that was when I started to think about making a channel. But I didn't think of it as YouTube. I was just trying to like make sense of like, how can I like make this like vlog or something where I capture like make little videos or photos or posts and I share it online for people to see. Maybe they can donate and help me in my travels because I'm gonna show them that magic is real. That's what I want to do. Like I want to be able to somehow share this with the world because it's so mind-blowing that I just want to scream from the top of a mountain, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, literally.
This is real. Everyone needs to know this is real. And then I meet Rob, like, you know, time passes and I meet Rob and we're on psychedelics all the time, whatever. And then he tells me he has a YouTube channel. He like, that's just happened in his life. So he tells me that. And I look at him and I'm like, what? You're on YouTube, like that's cool, like that's pretty cool. And then he explains it to me and how like you can start getting money and stuff, and I'm like, hang on, what? Like I didn't even understand like how YouTube works. Like I could just make a channel now and I could be a person on YouTube and I could potentially make money from it. Like that's mind blowing. And like I've told that to friends since and they've been like, what? I didn't even realise. Are you serious? That's so cool. So is that what you're doing? And I'm like, yes. And like, you could do it too.
Yeah.
Anyone could do that. So as soon as Rob told me, like, he has a channel, it's called Mr. Nature, and we're on acid having this conversation. So I'm already trippy, you know, I'm of the vibration of like higher mind. And he tells me like he has this YouTube channel and I'm instantly like, I want to make one too. And I know the name. It's going to be Mrs. Sunshine. Like that's the name I got given at the beach like a week ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's do it. And like, can you help me? Like we make it right now on your phone and like set it up and make the name and everything. And then like, should we make the first video? And cause like I'm on acid. So it just felt like bam, bam, bam. There wasn't a block of like anxiety or nervousness or like self-conscious. It was just like, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm doing this. It's happening. I'm uploading my first video.
Yeah, it's good that, so there's a two, we definitely resonate on that bit quite, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I like your, you say you want to like show that, the world that magic is real. And I resonate with that also because this is why I started the podcast with the Eco Village question, same with Mr. Nature, this is not the end all be all. This boring room. There is literally, I say reality is magic. It's hard to see it if you're just heavily integrated into the West and just a cog in a machine. But the reason why I love your guys' channels and why I said it's somewhat like Dakota of Earth is because when you really get out there, in combination with the spiritual lifestyle, health, and psychedelics. This is what Terence McKenna said at one point. He was like, they lied. It is magic. Reality is magic. And it's like, you could cultivate, like, you're literally living, yeah. People think, oh, what you on about? It's magic. It's like, well, you're not waking up on a hammock on the top of the mountain, led by some fucking psychonaut guy that said, come live here for free after you asked for that. Like, you were like, oh, I wonder if there would be a free eco village, maybe. Oh, do you want to come to our free eco village? Oh, sweet you mentioned. And then you're literally up there eating fruit for free, waking up in a hammock in front of a god fucking landscape, smoking weed, taking psychedelics, doing yoga and with your boyfriend on a fucking mountain, and then tell me reality is not. Yeah, reality doesn't seem magic to you because you hate yourself and you work in retail.
Or McDonald's or whatever's going on in your,
That's why it doesn't seem magic, but because we suck the magic out.
Even that can be magic. That's the thing with awakening.
True, yeah.
That even in the state of the worst possible imaginable situation, a guru is happy anywhere because he discovered that inner world, and that's a part of it as well, I guess. So had it not been for all the psychedelics and stuff, I also went through phases of depressive, blah blah blah. I fell in love with this guy who I thought was really cute. This is back when I'm 17 or whatever, in high school, college, and he was super depressed. And through fancying some depressed guy, I fell into this depressive thing of oh, depression's cool. And he ended up committing suicide when I was 18, and obviously that's super savage. But he was so severely depressed that I had to kind of accept okay, he was depressed, he didn't want to live, so he killed himself, he didn't want to live, I should just be happy that he made that choice, that he wanted to do that. We should just respect that.
Yeah.
But then also, I started to be what the fuck is the point in life? I don't want to wake up. The only thing is weed. I'm here for the weed. Just smoke fast spliffs all day, every day. That's it. And waiting to die almost. Fuck it. And I remember my mum being like, why don't you get a job? Why don't you get your shit together? Why don't you do this? So I just lost my job or whatever and was really fuck everything. And then at some point, you discover MDMA or something, this is the young days.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this crazy mind-blowing experience where you feel so much love and euphoria. And you think now I get it. I know what I thought I knew what I wanted to do with my life. Then I want to be a dancer. I start dancing around and thinking I'm the best dancer in the world, and I'm gonna become a fucking dancer now. And one thing leads to another, and you end up having those psychedelics, and then you end up having this inner experience, inner and outer, whatever the situation and stuff. But you see the magic for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is something that you cannot really explain to someone. You were saying, you're not really feeling the magic, you're not seeing the magic. But that person in that state, if you were to feed them some psychedelics, without them having to go to the mountains of Nepal, they could go to the mountains of Nepal, in the inner realm. They could see and feel that magic within that room.
Yeah.
And then they maybe have suddenly, the desire to go out and explore the world.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly it's no longer I'm waiting to die. It's more I'm super excited to live.
Yeah.
Let's go get it. It's a playground made just for me, by myself, with all my friends and family to run around and enjoy and eat psychedelics and go visit that place and that one. This looks cool. I want to do that. I want to learn that skill. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. It's that's kind of what awakening feels like in a way. It's it's there's an extra layer of the highs are higher and the lows are lower somewhat. Well, not necessarily, but it's you there's an added depth there's divinity, and it's like when you really question like your existential nature, like you say, it's like I do that as well, and like what you're saying and what you see, oh, let's go do this, it's like an infinite playground. I said earlier, it's a infinite entertainment system made by God. It's like when you see it with that extra layer of like you see from like meta perspective, zoomed out, what's going on the big, and that's what psychedelics and meditation do. I swear they give you big picture perspective, and spiritual people are just quite big picture people. We're very open-minded. It's very different when you integrate with spiritual people, because they're like, I noticed with some I met up, they're very conscious about the way they talk. They're like, oh, I didn't mean to like assume this, or like before I got you on I was like, if you're uncomfortable, it's like there's extra, yeah, I don't know where I swear
It's
I
like
probably, yeah,
you wanna like take care of the other as though it's yourself. You
yeah,
start to recognize that, like, if I'm a dick to you, I'm ultimately just being a dick to me.
yeah,
So if I'm loving and kind towards that one over there, it feels good to be kind. It feels good to be loving,
yeah,
to
definitely,
help.
yeah,
Like, if you're feeling shitty and then you go and help someone, you'll literally make yourself feel better. Like, it's actually just nice to be nice. Like,
yeah, it should be.
now I've lost
It
the
is
train
pretty,
of
yeah.
thought.
So I took a note when you're talking. So you said you actually see the magic for yourself. Now there's an interview that was like 1970 or probably before. I don't know. I think it was like some war or something. But some like housewife like lady of kids in the West. They took her in on an LSD experiment, and she's there going, "Can't you see it? Like, it's moving through me," and like, so she's like, I can see the air and she's like, I feel bad for you, like, because he's there, like,
That's,
he's
yeah.
sober, and
Not understanding. Yeah, yeah.
she said that he was the only thing that wasn't like added up in the, like, everything's magic, and he's there like, well, how does it feel? Tell me about it. Give it a label. And she's like, fuck off, you're ruining it. I'm literally enlightened right now, and you're fucking trying to interview me.
I just remembered something I was gonna say.
Yeah.
We've been talking about psychedelics so much, naturally, like that's how we like it. But then for a moment there, you mentioned meditation as well, and that's I just wanted to bring up, like, we talk about psychedelics all the time and
Yeah.
stuff, but psychedelics and meditation, like, you could say they're like same. So someone
100%.
who's perhaps not feeling the psychedelic vibe, that's not what they're about, but they are intrigued in what we're talking about, and this is like fascinating for them.
Yeah.
You can just sit and meditate yourself to psychedelic states. Like, if you smoke DMT externally, or if you breathe for 45 minutes or however long you need to your own natural DMT production, it's the same DMT that you're experiencing, and it's internal or external. Like, you don't have to take drugs. These are plants. We're talking about plants, but you don't need anything external to experience these higher altered states of consciousness. You can breathe yourself there, and breath is the most natural thing, and that's the one that's really important, I think, to get through to, like, the proper, the people who are so far in.
Yeah.
Like, Alan Watts says that we're like so far out, but the others are like so far in.
That's it.
It's like, actually, we should be like proud of those guys. That's God, in that form of God, decided to go into that experience of so like hardcore forgetting and like really getting lost in it so much, while we like dabbled in it, but then like we're like, okay, we're gonna remember who we really are again. Like,
so like in terms of like the natural high, so like this is an interesting point. I know, to be fair, the most breathwork I've done consistently, I've only done like 22 minutes of like 6 rounds of the Wim Hof method. I feel like I should be ashamed. I need to get, why have I not done like a fucking 40-minute like full, I've seen them, I've tried, my mind just takes me away eventually. But what I was going to say is, so high on your own supply, as Wim Hof says. A lot of people, Terence McKenna, Leo Gura, probably me, I don't know because I haven't done the super breath, but a lot of these people have done it, and it's like, yes, there are absolutely profound states in breath work, and I've been there a lot, especially if you combine them with psychedelics. But the idea that you, I don't know if I buy that you can achieve some of these states naturally. It's the same as smoking like loads of 5-MeO DMT on an acid peak. Like I don't know if you get there through yoga and breathing, or do you disagree?
That's the thing. Like the yogis, or whatever you want to call the people, sit up in the mountains and meditate for 8 years or however fucking long they sit up there and meditate. They are at that level, you know. If they're true to they're really sitting there and going within, they are of that like high on an acid peak, just smoke some DMT, like I'm
Yeah.
fully. But that's the thing, that psychedelics are almost like a shortcut. You don't need to for 8 hours and go up a mountain and do all these breathing techniques. You could literally just have a few puffs of this one,
Yeah.
and it's right there. But
Yeah.
the option also is there to do it naturally, because sometimes if you take a thing and then reach an altered state, you can be like, okay, so that was because of that drug, or because I took this substance, then I felt like that. And then you come back to like, I'm human, you know. For some people literally could have one dose of acid and it's like life changing, and they never need to do psychedelics again, and they completely get it now, and they're like, oh my god, thank you so much, thank you, and that's it, just that one experience. While another person could be using it again and again and again, but still have this kind of association of like, this state relates to this substance. Whereas if you manage to breathe yourself like to that same state, then you're suddenly like, hang on, I didn't take anything, you know. I was completely sober, and now I'm like, whoa, do you know what I mean? Like, but I personally didn't do any kind of breath work or anything. I hadn't even heard of Wim Hof before I met Mr. Nature, my partner. And through meeting him and started doing the breathing and stuff, I actually had quite a lot of resistance to the ice bath. I was like afraid. I was like, I don't want to go in there. Like, that seems dangerous. It looks so cold. And I had such a little hissy fit and didn't do it that I ended up going back there the next morning because I like couldn't let it go that I hadn't done it. So then I went back by myself the next morning and I did it, just to prove to myself, like, I can do this. This isn't dangerous. I've studied all the things with Wim Hof and all the doodles. I know it's good for me. It was just my mind being like, nah. So it's only fairly recent for me to start getting into like Wim Hof and breathing. But I say recent, now it's been like a year or so that I've been doing this. But through Traumatic, he shared a DMT guided breathing thing from this lady, Cheyenne.
I've seen it.
And that was the one. And there's even one that's like an hour long or something with her and Traumatic. So she's guiding you through like breathe in, breathe out. And then when you're doing like your breath retention, you have Traumatic being like, you're a multi-dimensional being.
Yeah,
and it's so fucking sick.
Yeah,
like,
he comes in.
That one is like, yes, you need to do that one, you know, because you can already resonate with like the Traumatic in there.
I know what one you mean. I think it's like there's just like breathe in, breathe, and then Traumatic just comes in. Never underestimate the power of human consciousness.
Exactly, it's that one.
It's
and like first we did like a 20-minute one, or it's 35 minutes or whatever. But for the first 15 minutes, she's literally describing breath work and talking about what to do and how maybe you cry, maybe it releases trauma, like maybe you start hallucinating. She's like preparing you for the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And then you do the breathing. So technically, it's only like a 10-minute breathing or a 15-minute breathing, but there's something about it. Like, if someone tells you, do you want to do this 10-minute meditation with me, you're probably like, all right. But if someone tells me, like, do you want to do this 1 hour long meditation with me, I'm a bit like, something in me is like, oh my god, seriously, an hour? Like, are you
it's because it's discipline.
But
like...
then when you get into it, and like once it gets to the end of it, you're almost like, I don't want to stop.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I want to keep going. You literally are like, I could do this for hours. But going into it, it's just like the ice bath. You're like, no, I don't want to go in the cold water. Nah. But after you come out of the cold water, you're like, oh, I feel amazing. You feel like Jesus Christ walking on water, like.
It's like a flow state you have to get into, and it's like after, for me it takes like maybe 5-10 minutes. It depends. Yesterday I was on Mr. Nature doing the podcast, and he said close your eyes, and I was already at like the center of a massive meditation. I was like, holy fuck, that does not normally happen. But yeah, it's when you're in there, you're like, I don't want to be anywhere else. Meditation is so powerful, and when you get into them blissful states and it's just euphoria, it's no like, and then people think it's crazy over here a bit, and we wonder why there's so much mental health. Is when I told my stepmom, she was like, are you okay? Because I was like, I was waiting for her to unlock the house. I was like locked in the garden, and she's like, are you okay? Because my eyes looked weird, and I was like, yeah, I was meditating. I was like 14, and she was like, what what do you mean, you're crazy?
Worried about you, like,
she seemed
to
look that way anyway. She didn't actually explicitly say it, but she seemed to look at me like I was a bit of a nutter.
Yeah, I've had that, like laying meditating under a tree, and I was doing like a guided meditation to find my higher self, and I'm about to have a chat with my higher self, and then my mum starts ringing because it's like raining suddenly or something, and I'm out with the dog, and I'm like, Mum, are you my higher self? Like, and she's like, what? Where are you? It's raining. Like, what? You're out with the dog in the rain? And I'm like, I'm meditating under a tree and the dog's fine. And she's like, come home.
I know, what do you mean?
What the fuck? Like, why are you out in the rain? And it was like the tiniest bit of drizzle.
Yeah, well, people are quite queasy. Like, I don't. Yeah, are you aware? Because there's so much like stuff of you like barefoot on your channel,
Yeah.
and or like grounding they call it as well. I do it quite a bit. Around here it's just rough because it's just an alleyway grid, and there's like no nature at all. The only nature there was some fucking government entity come out and sawed off all of the branches because it was deemed unsafe. So now you just got logs in the ground. There's like 3 in the middle of a airfield, and that's literally all we get over it. So and then again, it's like you wonder why so many people are not. It's like, but what was I saying that? Yeah, so I go over there like barefoot, and someone asked, because I work in retail, one of the customers who doesn't really know me, he just knows my face. He saw me walking barefoot in the field, eating fruit, and he was like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you really that bored? It's like, and then I made a video about it going, why do people judge this so much? Like, if I was on my phone, it's okay, but if I do breath work, everyone's like, are you okay? And someone commented when I talked about it, they were like, my favourite one is when I'm just sat in nature and people ask if I'm alright. But yeah, I was just asking, like, do you ever get it when you're like barefoot, people are like, excuse me, better get some shoes.
Here in Sweden especially, because it's Sweden and it's so damn cold, when people, even in the summer though, if people see me barefoot, they do stare at me, or some old lady will stop and ask me, like, people. So in Germany, one lady, when I just started to go barefoot, one lady was like so concerned. Her daughter and her came over asking me if I was homeless, if I needed money, like, why am I not wearing shoes? You know, she was really like, are you okay? Like, why, child? Like, please. But the barefoot thing is actually a funny one for you to bring up, because I just stopped wearing shoes. I was with my ex living in Germany in this forest, and I had this shitty pair of shoes and they were broken or something, and I'm traveling, so I got one pair of shoes. I just like, fuck these shoes. It's, you know, it's nice. I'm in the forest. I can just run around barefoot. Yeah. And then I started being like, what if I like continue this barefoot thing and like go out in the city barefoot and just stop wearing shoes? Obviously all my friends and stuff were like, you're fucking mad, like, we're going on the train and shit, like, put on shoes. And I was like, no, I'm not even gonna bring a pair of shoes. I'm just gonna go for it. And I was just like being stupid and just having fun. And then that became like a thing that I just kind of carried on and enjoyed it, and as much as possible I didn't wear shoes. Then when I started the YouTube channel, Rob was like, what to make a video about, got to make another video, got to release content, grow this channel. And he's like, why don't you make a video about how you're barefoot? Like, that's pretty random. Like, that's quite rare. Not a lot of people are running around with no shoes, like, all the time. So I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. So I made a video like being barefoot and my experience with it, and like talk about how the last 2 years or whatever I've been barefoot, like just a random lifestyle choice. And that video was one of the first to like proper blow up of my videos, like more than any other video I'd made. And I was like, okay, this is a thing now. So Rob was like, make more videos about being barefoot. It seems to be a trendy thing. So then all of a sudden I was like making a barefoot video every week or something, like barefoot
Yeah.
update. Like now it's October here in Sweden, getting cold. Now it's November. Now it's December. Gonna try and go in the snow. And like I knew it was getting likes. I knew it was getting a following from like creepy foot fetish guys and people
Yeah, yeah.
genuinely interested in barefooting and whoever the fuck wants to see bare feet related stuff. But I was just milking it, you know, I was just rinsing the fact that
Yeah.
this was getting me subscribers. This was getting me to where I needed to be to get the channel verified and just expand it. And nowadays I'm just like, every now and then I'm like, all right, haven't brought out anything about my bare feet. Better make a little video.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Like I've heard like people say grounding is good, just in terms of like being in touch with the earth is like because you're so like disconnected somewhat. And I was watching a video on like you can buy like these weird feet shoes that are like you put your toes through and then there's so much like evidence literally that just being barefoot is a lot better because we domesticate ourselves in so many dimensions. I imagine, like, I swear at one point, yeah, like, my sister was saying her mate does, like, the same thing. Your feet must be, like, pretty fucking... Look,
Huh.
yeah.
It becomes like the bottom of a shoe.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's like leather, but it
Yeah.
doesn't even look. It just looks a bit dirty. But recently,
No,
I've
I
been
know.
wearing boots and stuff because it's obviously winter. It's like below. It's like minus degrees all the time at the moment. The last few days, since 2 or 3 days, it hasn't gone like above zero. So it's like I'm wearing shoes.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'm only going over to the bin. I'll just run there barefoot and back. But like in the beginning, I literally was like, every single step is painful. Like if
Yeah.
there's stones or this or that, like your friends are miles ahead, and you're like,
Yeah, literally.
why am I doing this to myself? Like this is fucking painful. And some places it's like easy, and then you reach a place with gravel, and you're like, oh my god, it's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like how am I gonna walk across this path? Like holy shit. And then after a while, your feet just get hard. Like anything, like you know, men who are like laborers or something and they're in their 40s or whatever, they have
Yeah.
really tough skin on their hands and stuff. Like that's like the bottoms of my feet basically. And like I've heard a story, like I've just heard this, you know, it's word of mouth, I'm just passing it on, but supposedly Nike the brand, paid some scientist or whatever to go out there and discover like the best possible shoe.
Yeah, I've
And
heard
the
this.
guy came back with like actual evidence is no shoe is the best shoe. And they were like, all right, we're not going to release that information.
Yeah, 'cause
That's not going to get sales. Like,
I was getting loads into parkour and they said just that, is that your foot is actually designed for this activity. So the idea that you need to, it's just a
Yeah.
culturally conditioned, like, and then I had loads of people call me weird. I had like a child go, "Mum's weirdo." And I'm like, everyone is so conditioned. And people are so concerned about the wrong thing often. It's just like everyone's concerned for you because you're not wearing shoes. So I have a funny story. It was a mushroom trip. So the mushrooms again just removed some like limiting barrier for some reason. And I was at my mum's house and I thought, oh, I need to get money out. And I just ran out the door. I was like, fuck the shoes. Fuck it. I just went to the garage. And as I was walking, fucking raving on mushrooms in fucking God consciousness, that these girls, like, that are just sat out the front of their house, like, some of them are, like, adults and some of them are, like, children. They're like, excuse me, where are your shoes? And I was just like, they're at home. And they were like, are you on drugs? And I said, yes, always. And then I just started fucking dancing and like, with my feet on the pavement. And then I just fucking left. So it's like, because I was on mushrooms like twice a week. So I was like, yeah, I always on drugs. Sure.
But that's perfect. Those kind of things, I actually love that. It's like you're just breaking the bubble. I don't even know the right terminology for this, but it's like a frequency shift. Like those people are in their own little bubble of like, this is normal life, this is what's happening. And then this crazy motherfucker runs into their movie, like high on mushrooms, literally, barefoot, and they're
Yeah.
like, hang on there, where are your shoes? Like, for them, it's like this trippy elf. After you ran away, they're like, did that even happen? Like, are we the ones hallucinating? Did I
I know,
take
yeah.
something? Like,
I know exactly what you mean. Like, I think what that is, yeah, this is quite an interesting thing. Is like you again, you kind of look at the whole thing from like a bigger picture thing, and you're like, that's funny. And then, do you ever find, yeah, if you're looking at an animal, if you're looking at a landscape, or you're looking at just something in reality, especially normally visual, uh, stuff, but like you see it, and you almost see it in awe. But do you ever kind of look at stuff? My sister said she could relate to this. It's like, and you just kind of see it, and you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, for example, when I go on my phone sometimes, some of the apps, like I look at Instagram and I'm like, Instagram? And I'm just like, I don't know, it's like you look at it from like outside. Like, I feel like you get it on psychedelics. It's like you see it for the first time. You're like, you look at it as animal and you're like, oh, like, and you're like, what the fuck is even happening?
absolutely, and definitely I can relate to that, but even more so on psychedelics. And like that, if like if someone's listening to this now and they've never tried psychedelics, let's say, that would be an ideal way to try to describe and put into words something that's not describable and you cannot put it into
Yeah.
words. But to take psychedelics, like my first acid trip, I remember looking at this tree and the person I took it with was like, "Do you feel it yet?" And I look at this tree and I'm just looking at a normal tree and I'm like looking at it and I'm like, no, they asked me, like, do you see it? And I look at the tree and I'm like, no, I don't see it. And then the person's like, no, do you feel it? And then just saying the words feel it, it's like it slowed down and was
Yeah.
like, do you feel? And I look at the tree and it was like, for the first time ever, I felt the tree. And it was
Ah,
like seeing for the first time. It was like putting on glasses, but I didn't realize I ever needed glasses. I thought my vision was perfectly,
yeah.
like, perfect. But here's this substance that's actually like a pair of glasses I didn't know I needed, and I'm looking at the world for the first time. Like, has it always been like this? Has
And
it? And I
yeah.
remember my first acid trip, I discovered that everything is made of rainbows. And that's maybe how I became such a colorful, like rainbow fairy person, because I was just like, everything is light, right? So if everything is light and like white light, the light spectrum is actually made up of the rainbow of
Yeah.
lights, and I was seeing like every single particle, every single bit that makes up the whole of everything is a rainbow, like technically at the
Yeah.
core. So everything is rainbows, and I was just running around like, everything is rainbows.
That's sick. I had I was gonna say something. Hopefully I can remember, but something that's somewhat similar is like before I had like my phone. I was on one of my earlier trips. I saw the borders of the phone pulsing. It like with some like electro fucking magnetic weird shit like purple and orange lines like coming out, and I could see it and it was fucking real. So it's stuff like that, like you say with the you see the rainbows. I can't remember. Do you know what you were saying just before the rainbows? Because I did want to say something, but I'm shit. I don't know.
Oh, I was talking about the first time, how to try to describe to someone
Yeah.
psychedelics without having, if they haven't done them, and like seeing for the first time, kind of like when you're a
Yeah.
child and you see the magic in everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I got it now. Yeah, I know what you mean. So it's like those like I'm sure you're probably familiar. Like normally it seems like we're in something that's known as like the default mode network, which is like energy conservation, where the reason why it doesn't seem like magic until, as I stated at the beginning of the podcast, your brain is like running at like 15% to conserve it. But when you take a substance like mushrooms, it like hyper people often come out of it feeling emotionally and physically exhausted is because you don't always want to be in that state of perceiving with full intensity, because it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be like you can't drive like well I can, hypothetically, like, I mean,
Rob
if you're
can,
on,
but
yeah,
not everyone can.
if you're on like 5 MEO DMT, obviously it's hard for you to just go to your retail job. So that's why you're in this like survival state. But then, so when you're saying has it always looked like this, it's like if you were always like that, like to some extent your eyes would just be bugging out of your head, or because you can't look away from the geometry, the divinity, the the list goes on. Just the whole recontextualization is they're truly, and I know exactly when you say that. Oh, do you feel it? I know exactly what you mean. It's, you build like an intuition.
It like wobbles, like.
Yeah, literally.
That's like that was the moment you felt it. Like that's when it hit you when they said that. Like it was like a trigger word, and you were like, "No, I feel it. Like it's happening."
Yeah.
But I was gonna say something. Fucking shit.
It's just we're so shit. I don't know.
Oh, I know, but I'm really loving this chat, this conversation. Like, it's absolutely brilliant.
100%.
We're back.
We returned. Well, no, they wouldn't have even known that we were gone. Technically, it would have just like what cut to a scene immediately. Yeah, I just paused
synchronized.
it. Yeah, seemed to be synchronizing a lot on like everything. We're like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and then we just needed to pee at the same time. But yeah, I just hit record on a whim.
Yeah.
I just thought that I'd pause and see if like needed a break or something. I needed a pee as well, but
Perfect.
we're back. Mr. Nature has provided Miss Sunshine with marijuana. What have you got in there? Just pure ganja?
Hashish in this one.
Hashish.
Right? Hashish, yeah. It was ganja the first time round. Now it's hashish. Cool, we're really living it up here, aren't we? We're living the dream, like Traumatic likes to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely jealous, but I feel like I don't know if weed's the best because I never normally forget what I'm saying until I smoke before I like make a video. Weed is what makes me forget like my immediate past. So I would like to ask you what I asked Mr. Nature. For me, there was the transition from NPC or just normal people, basically. Like Rob said, he was just a gamer and he just done drugs like 90% of the population. And then I just play games. I didn't care about my health. I was just like everyone else, really, for the most part. No spirituality, no real intention or philosophy or nothing. It's just kind of like leaves blowing in the wind. And then at some point, like I awoke and there was a big transition, a lot of psychedelic use and listening to other ways and researching. And then there was a big transition where, for me especially, everyone thought like I'd lost the plot somewhat. They're like, you're crazy, you're taking drugs, so that's why you've lost your mind. You're hallucinating because you're hyperventilating, and hyperventilation is just guilty as charged again for no reason. And they're like, obviously you took drugs and now you're crazy, that's why. So like, did you ever have that transit where people were like, what the fuck are you on about, when you start talking about like 5D Earth and all this madness? How was that like for you?
Yeah, I definitely remember being like your your basic white girl. I remember that whole like Starbucks drinking, like shitloads of makeup and curling my hair and straightening it and high heels and like trying to be somebody, trying to fit in and be cool and all that kind of stuff. And then I remember like meeting a hippie looking girl, and like she kind of inspired me to like, hang on a second, I can like look how I want. And at that time I didn't really understand that I was just trying to be like somebody without really actually being myself, just like going about and like trying to be like everybody else in this weird little fucking matrix. And then I started to think things like, oh, I could stop wearing a bra. Why do I even wear a bra? I don't have like fucking tits that I need one. Like it's just
literally
like this thing that girls do. And like slowly like, oh, I'm not going to shave my legs anymore. And like just these random things. Obviously that's just like from a girl perspective. But I remember the dreadlocks for me were a big thing because at first, like, I had friends with dreadlocks suddenly, and I was like, yeah, that's a cool hair thing, but I didn't want it. I was like, I like my hair, and the girls who, my friends, who would be like, can I make you a dread? I would be like, no, I don't want dreads, leave me
Yeah.
alone. And then I met this one of our friends had like the most beautiful dreadlocks in the world. And I looked at his dreadlocks and was like, "What? How come your dreadlocks are so like pretty? They're so beautiful. They're not like everybody else's, you know. There's something unique. Like, tell me the secret, bro." And then he tells me like, "This is natural dreads. Like, nobody made these for me, nothing with crochet needles. Like, it's called the neglect method. You just do nothing. You like stop washing your hair with fucking products and shampoo and shit. Stop brushing it, stop touching it, and nature will just make this happen." And I'm looking at this man, I'm looking at his beautiful dreads, and it's kind of not making sense. Like, you did nothing and now you look like a god. Like,
Yeah.
okay, bro. But I'm gonna take your word for it. And then I started to do that. I started to be like, okay, I'm just gonna stop washing my hair. Like, I'm gonna follow this guy's guidelines. And so many of my friends were like, Ola, you look disgusting. Please wash your hair. Please brush your hair. And like this look thing, you know, transitioning from like how you think you're supposed to look like every other
Yeah.
girl, and you're supposed to shave your armpits, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do that, and I'm suddenly saying fuck you to all these random like social standard things.
Yeah.
And I remember like obviously also like taking psychedelics and being all like changing. I remember my mum being like, it's just a phase, like you're going through this hippie phase, and like laughing at me like, how long will it last? Like, yeah, it's just a phase, it's just a phase. And like she's waiting for me to like change my mind
Yeah,
and
that's what they
wake
do
up
to me.
that I want to go to university and I
Anna.
want to do something important with my life, you know. And
Yeah.
then the more and more that I just was myself, and people started to see like, wait, she's not going to change. She really is completely bonkers. Like, she's fully lost the plot.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, we'll just accept that as that is. And I have friends like, I had friends like, I've lost people due to them thinking I'm crazy, or I took way too much acid now and I've just lost it, or Mr. Nature's brainwashed me. He's been feeding me so many psychedelics that I've just completely gone bananas.
Yeah.
And then there's people who message me and they're like, thank you so much for being you,
Yeah.
while everybody else is running around chasing their tail because you've inspired me. And it's like that one message is worth more than all these stupid opinions of people thinking that you're crazy or you're a drug addict or you've lost the plot. Like, yeah, you almost have to go through that and not care what people think. That's such a big part of it. Like, just living for you, being yourself to the fullest. Because if you run around trying to make other people happy, you've got one person that thinks this is what's best for you, while the other person, like maybe your mum thinks this, while your dad thinks the complete opposite. So either way, you're letting somebody down. So forget what everybody else is saying and focus on like yourself
Yeah.
and do what you want to do, but obviously without hurting others and stuff. And that kind of like gives other people permission to do the same. It's
Yeah.
like people can feel like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I can just be myself, you know, I don't need to pretend to be anybody else.
Yeah, I know exactly, because Terence McKenna says very often, culture is not your friend. And then now what I respect within you and I recognise is that what really you done is you had your own intuition of like breaking social norms. Basically, what happened to you is what happened to me. Is like you start discovering your own truths and your own authentic way of being with no cultural conditioning, especially as psychedelics just decondition people. But and then like I wish my parents would be like inspired and be like, yeah, because I think what we're here to do is all discover our own truths and our own authentic self, and then we can like that's how it's meant to be. You're not meant to be like put into categories. You're meant to monetize and like live, well, not necessarily monetize, but you know, live from your passions, discover who you are, find your own truths that aren't culturally conditioned. But then what me and you both got are parents that are basically saying it's a phase, you'll get over who you are. Like they're decently accepting of it, I guess, over time, but it's just like they assume that you've just like gone down a rabbit hole and that it's not actually like, because I pick up things, obsessions, drop them, and then but this one's stuck, and my parents are now waiting for me, the same as they waiting for me to just move on to fucking a new video game when it's just so much deep. It's not just another thing, it's like the thing itself.
And sometimes if you try and talk to them about it, like somehow with like my dad, maybe I could a little bit more, but with my mum, if I even mention psychedelics or like try to say it's just a mushroom, and she like switches off, she kind of goes like, no, and like nothing that I can say matters anymore. It's irrelevant. I've said the trigger word and it's too late now. Or if I try and talk about God, then she starts being like, no, I don't care. But if I catch her at the right moment and she's really listening, then it's almost like, oh my God, I'm like so careful about what words come out of my mouth because like she's actually paying attention right now. This could make a big impact. Her soul is listening to me.
When what you just said there, just like reminded me of like when your mum like basically shuts down over that. And like, to be fair, my parents, it doesn't matter what I say, what evidence I bring, what testimonials, anything. She goes, but it's drugs. And so Terence McKenna, he said, I don't remember, it was a quote that he was referencing. He's basically said, LSD is a psychoactive compound that occasionally causes psychotic behavior in those who have not taken it. And he's like, it basically, his parents are like, he said, my parents would go mad just by mentioning LSD. They never would have taken it. It's like people hear about like psychedelics, and the way he puts it is like, people sense that their mind is quite like fragile and they don't really want to go within and just question shit from the ground up, and it's probably somewhat like a defense mechanism in like just naturally like don't go there because you'll lose your, and you do lose your mind. Like you, like it's not you just, oh, people think I'm crazy. It's that you are crazy and you know it, but that's fine, and that's what you have to embody it in order to not feel insecure. You have to go, yes, I'm crazy, but so are you, and everyone just pretends they're not, and that's why. You know what I mean?
But the thing I suddenly thought, like, imagine it from the perspective of our mum. Like, our mum is now the same person, you know, mum.
Yeah.
And mum has got so many things going on. She's like cleaning the house, taking care of the kids, doing this, has to go to work. So in a way, mum doesn't even want you to like mention these things because she really wants to be able to continue to do things as they are. And if she starts questioning these things, her job's on the line, her family's on the line, her household's on the line. That's her like fears of if I start dabbling in these kind of things. Like, I don't have kids and things to worry about, so I have the time to sit around and question my mind and explore my mind. Well, my mum is like, you need to think about work, you need to think about getting the food on the table, you need to think about getting the kids to school on time. Like, what the fuck are you going on about?
Yeah, I think it's big partly is like an avoidance of truth. Like, so yeah, Terence says again, like the Western mind is a house of cards. And like you say, if you have a solid routine with children and everything, and then someone goes, everything you know is wrong, by the way, they have like a cognitive dissonance. And this is what I say. Yeah. So someone, I won't name drop just to save the beef, but like someone very close to me, the way I perceive it somewhat is that when I went on my awakening path, this person seems to be like the polar opposite in that kind of sense of like the awakening and the spirit, and he would agree with that. When I went down this, like, and I started questioning everything, because I was in my phase of trying to let everyone know as well, like, I couldn't not have a disagreement with most Western people, including this person who I was living with, and I feel like they kind of like had no choice in a way to divide the relationship in a way, because when I couldn't, like, because of the way I am, I basically threaten their paradigm and what they think is the case. When I keep questioning everything, they're like, fuck off, I know who I am, I think. And I can't help but I feel like that's definitely exists. Like, if you keep questioning, people have no choice to fucking get away from that shit because they haven't got time, or they don't even want to explore like the nature of reality because they're in a routine like your mother and they've got shit going. They don't want to go there.
Exactly. So it's like you can't force somebody to change or to look at something if they don't want to.
Mhm.
Like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Like if that
Yeah.
horse isn't thirsty, it's just looking at you like, okay, great, water, like thanks.
Yeah, yeah, I've learned that a lot, like so much recently, especially is like, did you go through a phase? I asked this of Mr. Nature. He said yeah, and psychedelic actualization. So many. What I've concluded is that there's a phase where basically you find the holy grail, which is psychedelics and spirituality and diet and whatever. You discover these mad truths, and then you bring them back to your tribe and your wolf pack, and you're like, guys, you're going to want to know about this. This is game changing. And then they're like, shut the fuck up. No one cares. I'm busy. You know, did you ever like, did you go through the phase where you tried to tell people and they were like, you just took drugs and that, could you talk to the tree before you took the mushrooms? No.
But it's a bit, but it's a bit too savage because we come at it a bit too traumatizing people with truth. Like
Yeah, I
your
know, yeah.
toothpaste is poisonous, your
Yeah.
fucking food is poisonous, that water's poisonous, everything's poisonous, and people are like, they don't want to hear that. They're like,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. Like everything
Definitely.
you think you know is a lie, and people are like, maybe you're lying. Like, why should I listen to this? Like,
It depends how you approach it, definitely. But like, did you ever like try to tell people, and then because I've learned over the past few months, I'm not gonna give that my energy. If people don't want to listen, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna preach. You know what I mean? Did you ever like
yeah.
try to tell people like that, and then you had to learn that no one wants to hear?
Yeah, it's almost, yeah, absolutely. It's almost better to just be it. Like, this is the thing. If you feel like at peace and you sit at your mum's house and you're just sitting at peace and just smiling and just existing, like, you're just happy,
Yeah.
then your mum might be like, what are you on? Or like, what is it? Like, tell me how come you're like this now? Like, what did you take? Or like, and they suddenly want to know, like, what
Yeah.
is this? And if you come like, I have the answer, no one asked for it, but you
Yeah.
come like, I have the answer, it's this,
Yeah. No.
then people are kind of like, who's this guy? Like, I'm
No.
fine, I'm doing my thing over here, and he's trying to sell me some shit, you know? So it's better to just be it, and when somebody asks, then you're like, they've asked, so they've
Yeah.
opened the
That's it.
door, and
Yeah.
now you have the opportunity to spill everything. But you
Yeah.
don't have to go and like shove it down people's throats, like say, like preaching it.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I did have a point. That thing's frozen. Yeah. No. Yeah. I did think something way back, but I can't fucking remember anymore. Um. Well, if you, I don't know if you want to continue on that point, but other than that, I reckon we should just get a little bit into just general psychedelics, maybe talk if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Psychedelics are a big part of it. If it wasn't for psychedelics, like I kind of remember like being introduced to truth on YouTube, like spirit science or whatever have you, that's like, hello, you're not just a human being, you're a multi-dimensional spirit inside of a human body, like all this kind of things.
Yeah.
You can hear it as knowledge and like take it into your brain and try to digest it and maybe need to sleep on it and like start getting all a bit like existential crisis, you know, cognitive dissonance. But then if you are to combine that kind of experience with a psychedelic experience where you experience it firsthand, you see it, or like either or, you know, you can learn about it and that's cool and that's one thing, but to actually live something, to like go into the book instead of just read a book is a whole other thing. To live it, then you cannot. That's why we run to our families and our tribe like, this is a game changer, because you experienced something that felt like it changed you in a way for the
Yeah.
better. So then you're like, everyone needs to try this. Can we just give everyone mushrooms and please?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like you don't have a like because my friend came down from a like a 4.2 gram trip. I was with him, and he had like a full non-dual breakthrough. And when he come down, he was just like completely taken back, and he was like, "I want to share what I've learned," and that's what happened. And then everyone like kind of victimizes you for wanting to share it. They're like, "No one asked," and yeah, people don't have an intrinsic value for truth. A lot of people don't care about the nature of reality. People aren't concerned about the true nature of self, or in like they just think it's like, who cares? I just want to actually enjoy my life, you know, like. But yeah, it's like you want the reason why we try to tell people is because it was so game changing to us, especially when we initially had, like you say, you've had a few, and then you have that one trip that expands your whole idea of what these things are capable of, and then because it like heals you from the inside out, you're like, guys, I have like liberation physically here. This is the fuel for awakening.
You can have some too.
Yeah, it's like how Terence says it's like it's one long talk away from ordinary human being to meet infinite multiplicity alien fucking entities, like, and it's been here the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big discovery, and it's illegal, so no one knows, and there's such a stigma, and you're like, this is wrong, and people are like, no, it isn't. Everything that I believe is correct. It's like I don't understand why people actually like. They have like a grip on their beliefs. Like if you challenge someone's, like if they've been eating dairy their whole life, and you're like, oh, by the way, maybe dairy hypothetically is, they like, because they've been eating it their whole life, they're like, oh, it's fine. Like they're attached to, like, I guess it's like an identity thing. But if I hear a new truth, I'm like, yeah, okay. I always say, like, if I'm wrong, then tell me, and we'll like progress and find the truth. Like, I don't attach to what I thought was the case in light of a new truth, and I don't really understand why people do that.
Yeah, but I think people like myself and you from a young age, and many people, of course, have had this feeling like something isn't right, you know? And
Yeah,
people like say, I grew up in Poland for the first 9 years or whatever, and that was all Catholic, I think they are. So you're being told all these things. And I remember thinking, like, none of this sounds right. And like going to church and feeling like, nope. And then like
yeah,
people are telling you, like, here's truth while you're there, like, no, it just doesn't feel like I'm hearing you, I'm seeing it and everything, but the feeling is like, nah. And then if one day you connect with something where the feeling is like 110% yes,
yeah, I know,
like
yeah,
here is religion where people are trying to tell me religion's this thing that's totally not it. Like,
yeah,
but if you take a magic mushroom, you have like true religion, like first-hand experience, and anyone can experience it.
yeah,
So we're like, but your friend, like you were saying, the four and a bit grams of mushrooms, and afterwards, how he was like, I want to share my experience. That's the kind of window of opportunity to be like, right, I'm going to make a YouTube channel,
yeah,
even if it's just this one video where I share this one experience because I've got to get it out there. And then it's not like you're telling your mum or that guy or this person, like you're just putting it out there for whoever's looking for it or wants to listen.
yeah,
And I
100%,
love
yeah,
being on YouTube somehow, and I feel like I'm always sharing that with people who I feel like you're a character, like you could
yeah,
be on YouTube. And I love supporting other people's channels also. Like my friend recently made a channel, and I've been like sharing her channel everywhere and being like, yo, you should all check this out. Like
yeah.
when I'm discovering you, like literally yesterday, I think through Rob and whatever, I was feeling like, yep, this guy, gotta do everything I can in all the different social medias for people to like find this.
I do that loads as well. Like a lot of people don't seem to like do that, or they just don't think about it, but I do it a lot because I know how good it feels. Like when I see like a small artist on the rise, like a conscious rapper who like no one, I share. I don't know who he. I don't owe him anything. I'm just like, check him out, leave a comment or whatever the fuck, and that's what you done to me. And I like, it means more than you can imagine, especially as a small channel. When I see you posting the stuff, I'm like, because I've put so much into this, and getting new eyes and that, you know how valuable, and that's why you do it, and I respect that, and I do that as well.
Yeah, and like being in a position of now 14,000 subscribers, it's like mind blowing when I try and
Yeah,
think
what the
about
fuck?
that number of
That's a lot.
people. And if even like 100 or 1,000 people see something I post, and I have a friend with like 60 subscribers or 200 subscribers, like, and I could help them just that little bit, I'm like, I want to help everyone who I think is worthy of helping. Like,
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing is, like, why I love these podcasts as well, is it's not only, like, your growth to me is my growth, because we're on the same mission, and when you meet, like, a tribe of people who are on the same mission, it's so good, because you're all, like, manifesting, we all have, like, somewhat the same vision of, like, eco-villages, bringing about the psychedelic revolution, the great awakening, and fucking just help, and then when you get on that with people, it's so good, like, I promote Mr. Traumatic and like say this actualized.org guy and that only because like we're on like the same path and I found them to be so valuable that I talk about them a lot because I feel like I owe it to them and because it's just so good that I'm like, yeah, so the reason you promote stuff is just because like I say your growth is my growth. And what I was saying originally is this bringing together of me, you, all the people I'm doing the interviews with. Now you're on the same channel with loads of other psychedelic interviews and more to come. So it kind of like adds like a thread and connects us. And when I originally like set out on my channel, I said on my very first video, I want to create nothing from something and I want to build and like connect the dots of a spiritual community. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's why I'm so happy for you to be here and why I'm reaching out to loads of other small people of the same nature is because we all share ideas and there's so much growth and people love it. And yeah, there's not much spiritual podcast either, so I'm gonna fucking take over.
It's amazing. And I feel like it helps people who are in a similar position or someone who's been in a similar position or whatever. Like, say, someone in the UK who wants to travel, but they're a bit unsure. And then they might stumble upon this and hear this, and suddenly they see somebody else who's done it and has been in their shoes and has gone through all the steps and has managed to actually do it. And it just like can put that in your mind that it's possible instead of just the thoughts of like, oh no, but I'm afraid or I'm nervous or whatever. Suddenly
Yeah.
there's hope. And like that hope, that faith, that trust, that's like one word almost, like just having that. Like you have this vision and you're doing it and we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, and then it's about like you say, proving that it's magic. That's like basically my thing as well. I wanted to show that this is not all there is, and I want to go out on vlogs and adventures with you guys and whoever. And like when you actually show people what you can do from the ground up, like this is why you guys are so inspiring. It's like I say, you're just living for free in like in literal heaven in the garden on psychedelics and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
That
Uh,
was amazing. And like before we went to India, I painted a painting that I got so much money for that that was kind of like a big amount of the fund that got us to even be like we're going to Asia. Like I'd never been to Asia. Suddenly got this money, we're going and we get to India and then we're like we're gonna extend this stay, like we're gonna make it work. And we end up in Nepal like I used to say all the time, I'm living on hopes and dreams.
yeah.
Like I didn't have like some kind of money supporting me to begin with. It was just I'm living on hopes and dreams. And through living on hopes and dreams, I figured out what my hopes and dreams are to make it more financially accessible for myself. But to be around on hopes and dreams, like
Yeah. Um. So it's like basically 2 hours. I don't. Are you comfortable if we I got one question. I normally close it off. Uh, and then do you reckon that's good for this time? Nearly like 2 hours, basically. And we can always do another one. I'm definitely willing to. I feel like it was very constructive. I learned a lot. It was fun. But if you're happy, I got one.
go
Some
for it, yeah.
like. So if you could like summarize your whole shebang. Basically, if you had like one message that the world was gonna hear, say like you was just about to die, and like this is your last chance, your final thing you can say before you die, what would that be? Like, can you sum up your message? What you've learned in a sentence or a few sentences or a few words, anything?
While you were asking the question, there were so many like thoughts and ideas running through my head of like, oh, say this, say that.
Yeah.
To summarize it all in one, that's a brilliant question. I'm sure I can, you know. I think just be yourself to the fullest. And technically, that's just the word beautiful. Be you till full. And
Oh
by
yeah.
that, I mean, like, take full advantage in all moments of life. Like, just take it to the fullest, but be you till full. And don't let yourself, like you said it, like, if you're laying there on your deathbed and you have one thing to say, like, you don't want to have regrets, you know, you don't want to be laying there wishing you had lived life more and been more true to yourself. Like, you want to lay there like, I was really truly me. I experienced this incarnation that is me to the fullest. Hallelujah, I'm ready to go to the next. Like, you want to be dying in a sense of like, okay, I did it
Yeah.
all and I did it to the best of my ability, being me. Yay!
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, you don't want to like
Be
what
you till full. That's a good one.
it's like you don't want to have regrets anyway, regardless of how it goes. But I know what you mean.
No.
It's like you don't want to be on your deathbed wishing you hadn't have mediated your authentic self. Like what we were saying earlier, people have so much potential, but they like limit that because of cultural stigma, conditioning, and social anxiety. They're scared to be their authentic self, and society
Which is
definitely
just
promotes.
belief and thoughts,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Literally.
It's believing a thought that says I can't do it or I'm not good enough, or the person who hasn't done it is the person who's decided like, oh, okay, I can't, you know? Obviously, in
Yeah.
some circumstances, like the moment will come, but when that moment comes, you got to do it, because when you don't, that's when you regret, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I know. It's like Eminem's song. You only got one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. But yeah, I couldn't. Oh, what was I? Yeah, it's like when you. I was saying this with Mr. Nature as well. He basically said somewhat of the same thing, I think. And it's like when you live from a place of self-love, self-respect, honesty, and just being authentically you outwards, it's like, is it not in a sense freedom? Because if you know who you are so deeply and you act from a place of like, I know what I'm doing, you respect yourself and you know who you are and you know how you want to be, it's like, it doesn't matter if you fuck up because you can only try your best, but as long as you live from your heart, it's like you're free because you're only doing what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like doing the best we can in all moments is all we have to do. And making mistakes or fucking up is kind of part of it. Like people think it's success or failure, but it's kind of like failure is a step along the way to success.
Yeah.
Like you got to sometimes not succeed because you learn from that to be able to, if you fail and then stop there, then you don't give yourself a chance to succeed because maybe that next one would have been the one. But if you're like, oh fuck, I failed, I give up, like we gotta just, exactly, that's the freedom, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and trusting, trust trust is such an important one when it comes to travel, when it comes to psychedelics, when it comes to anything. And that's kind of like that surrendering control and letting go and like going with the flow. If you try and swim against the current, it's like stressful almost and you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you just go like fuck it and just go with what is.
100%. Yeah. It's even Mr. Nature was saying the same thing. I was saying yesterday on the podcast, it was like control is like the root of the vast majority, like you're trying to control it. If you let go and go with the Tao, the flow, then you kind of go with the stream. You're just kind of flowing, and it's liberating to trust in the universe. It's not, don't think it's a fluke. I trust so deeply in my experience. I don't think anything's gonna happen. There is like nothing. There's no mistake.
Yeah, thank you. That's absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Perfect. It's all perfect, isn't it? Like
Yeah, that's why the importance of just understanding your existential nature is just like the idea that you're just a bag of meat that just got consciousness on a rock that's just hurling in a random direction through space. It's like I believe in the divinity is like it's playing out exactly how God or me as God planned. Also, it's like a real life fairy tale, you know, and then you forget you're dreaming, so there's actual real stakes.
sometimes we just take life too seriously, I think.
Yeah,
It's so
definitely,
much
yeah.
more fun when you see like you're playing, even when you're at work, instead of I'm working, if you think I'm playing. Like playing like you were in a play or a movie or
Yeah.
on stage in the theater and like a kid plays, just having fun and like
Because you are really. My intro, normally I go, Wagwan gamers, and then I realised, like, after I made that, like, it's actually, like, genius, because we are gamers. We, like, play the role of the retail dickhead, the hippie barefoot, and, like, that's what it is. That's why you said earlier you see it as, like, some big game, fantasy world, and that's what I feel as well.
I'm getting like my cheeks are aching from smiling.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
But you're definitely right. It's just for me, I got liberated when I was like, why do I take everything so seriously? And then for like 3 days after that, I was just so peaceful because it's like Alan Watts says it's like sincere. Like when you play a song on a piano or something, like you're sincere, but you're not serious. And life is like a dance, like a musical flow.
Definitely. So let's play more.
That's
Trust and play.
100%. That's why play leaves so many people's lives. It's quite like people just forget about it and just start going to work and that. It's like, why does no one like kick a ball around anymore? But
Yeah. Never grow up. We never grow up.
yeah, growing up is just a. I swear it's like my friend Key Parks, who's very spiritual as well. He's got a channel. He put a video called "The Trap of Growing Up." It's like you don't really need like the idea that the innocence leaves as you grow is not it's not really the case, and like it is a trap of growing up. You just adapt responsibilities and becoming integrated into a culture of like growing up is not the same everywhere. It's just like an idea that you have to transition into a category and a cog in a machine.
I was starting to read a book by Osho. It was only a small book about innocence, like returning to that
Yeah.
state of innocence, that childlike innocence. And it kind of spoke about how like every single person, like all of us are born with that innocence as a child, like childlike innocence. And then as you grow up, like become indoctrinated or programmed or however you want to put it, every single person goes through these two stages, like the innocence and then like coming out with the innocent. And then there's a third stage that not everyone really goes into. This is just, Osho's words
Yeah.
written down into a book. And like we are of that path of like returning to innocence. And every single person could be, but so many people are just maybe perhaps not aware that that's even a choice, that they could return to what it was like when you were a kid, when like you were saying, like everything is like you're looking at it for the first time and it's so magical, and
Yeah.
you could just stare at it and you're like, what actually is this?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, literally, yeah, that's how it is when you're a kid. It's like neuroplasticity partly, but oh fuck. Damn it! I definitely wanted to. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So this is how me and you like resonate on this part thing as well. Is because like I think that I didn't read Osho's book, or I thought that just myself, and that's why you started questioning norms and becoming your own truth. Is because we just spontaneously think like, well, where does the innocence stop? Like, why is it when you grow up that you pass like a threshold, unless you have like some crazy disability where everyone grants you your innocence? You know what I mean? And then like, if you're like an average
Yeah.
human, they're like, oh, you're not innocent because you know what you're doing. You know, you should behave. But then, to me, there's no point where that innocence goes. It doesn't seem like it with a lot of people, but like, the innocence is still there fundamentally at the center of all of it. Like, no one asked to be here, and then with innocence is forgiveness, and then it just brings about goodness.
Absolutely. And I think Mr. Nature, Rob, Mr. Nature, I think he said this in the interview yesterday about Ram Dass's guru, Ramana Maharshi, I think it is, that always was just saying to love everyone. Oh, sorry, wrong one. He's right here. Neem Karol
Oh,
Babaji.
yeah.
That was the, sorry. Neem Karol Babaji was saying, love everyone and tell the truth. And then Ram Dass, while he was still on the path, was getting frustrated because he was thinking, my truth is that I hate everyone. And that's like the ego consciousness.
Yeah.
But the true you, the true every single one of us,
Yeah.
loves everyone because we're all the same thing and tells the truth just naturally. It's just our natural way of being,
Yeah.
like loving and compassionate, innocence, kindness. Everything's a miracle and amazing and magical. But it's just the kind of layer in front that we captured along the way that we identify with that then goes, no, my truth is I hate everyone and life sucks.
Yeah, and then it's
like letting go of the mask is all that needs to happen, and then you're
yeah.
in pure bliss.
That's what Mr. Nature was saying yesterday. It's like awakening and everything. It's just like forgetting all these ideologies and thoughts that you've been identified with, and that's why we said psychedelics just put you on your ass in the present moment. You think you know who you are, and yeah, I 100%.
Like a slap around the face,
Yeah.
like a loving slap around the face. Like take a look at yourself, and you're forced to.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy how it comes. It's like full blast. You just confront your life. But right, what are we saying? Are you? I reckon I'm happy to wrap it up. It's been like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I've had a very good time.
Perfect.
Is there anything that you want to like?
It goes quick, doesn't it? Go quick, like.
Yeah, this is a very good one. I'm definitely happy that we done this. I can tell. I've been following it, trying to be more sharp, and I was like, yeah, I think this is going good. I think we hit good points. But yeah, if you're happy to wrap it up, is there anything else you want to say, just as a final message for this one?
Let's just send out some love to everybody and thank them for listening. If you made it this far, you're a true legend, and you should comment something below to say, like, I watched till the end. Ooh. And definitely subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and Mr. Nature. And just peace and love to everybody. A last little thank you and goodbye kind of message.
Excellent. Can't argue with that. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing this and keep doing it. Yes.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Miss Sunshine said it all. That's it. Links in the description. And I'll add all the sources that we were referencing to and everything. But that's it. Make sure to subscribe to everyone. You know the crack. Thank you, gamers. Alright, we'll do another one eventually. Hopefully, maybe. But this was good. Alright. Thank you. I will hit stop record.